What's going on, guys? So when building a web app, one of the most difficult things to deal with, but is also absolutely necessary, is authentication. And I've done a lot of videos on creating your own authentication with JSON Web Tokens. I've done a few videos using OAuth and some other services. But in this video, we're going to build a project with full authentication and user management using a tool called Clerk, which in my opinion is one of the easiest, if not the easiest, way to implement full authentication into your React projects. And Clerk can be used with React spas. It can be used with Next.js, Remix. In this video, we're going to be using it with Next.js. So we'll be able to register, log in, have a profile page on the user's end, and on the admin end, you get a complete user management system. Now, I do want to mention that Clerk is sponsoring this video. However, many of you know me and you know that I don't take any sponsors that I don't believe in, and this is definitely something that I would recommend either way. I'm all about finding tools that can make things easier for you guys. And I'm also going to be using Clerk in some of my own projects coming up. Now, there is a free tier, so it's not like, you don't have to pay anything to follow along with this and build this project. If you do plan on using it in production, the price is more than fair for what you get. All right, so let's take a quick demo of the application. So this is the Next.js project that we're going to create. You can see I have a sign in and sign up link here. So if I click sign up, it shows me a form where I can sign up with GitHub, Google, or my email address and password. And those are just the three options that I chose. There's a whole bunch of, I think there's like 20 different services that you can use to have your users authenticate. Now, this form that you're looking at is a predefined component that I just brought in from the Clerk package. Same thing with the sign-in. However, if you don't want to use these predefined forms, and you can customize these, there's different themes you can use and so on. But if you want to create your own UI, you can also do that. And we're going to do that at the end of the video. And I just want to show you, if I go to /register, that's a custom form that I created and use the different tools that they give you to basically create the same type of flow, but with your own UI. So you can completely customize it. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick demo. If I continue with GitHub here, it's just going to validate. And now you can see I have my little avatar up here, and we have this drop down with manage account. And of course, I can sign out. If I click manage account, it shows me this modal where I can add email addresses, connect accounts, delete my account. And then I also have this profile link because we can also embed that into a page with the UserProfile Component. All right, now I want to go to the Clerk side of it now. So I'm going to sign in at clerk.com, and you can see it's pretty much the same layout here. And we're going to go to the YouTube application that I created. And then if I go to users, you'll see that user that I just registered with. And if I click on it, I got a little profile of that user. All right, so you have complete user management. If I go to users and authentication and I click on this email, phone, username, if I scroll down here, you'll see that there's all different options. So you can choose to use an email verification link or not, or SMS verification. You can choose to have the user store their first name and last name, which I did choose. And then to show the, let's see, the connections here, I'm only using GitHub and Google, but you can use all these different services, which is really cool. All right, now I just want to show you how I can sign up with just my email address and password. So I'm going to log out of this account and then go to sign up, and then I'll just fill in here. Email address, I'll use support, Traversy Media, and then password. Okay, so we'll continue. Now what it's going to do is email me a passcode or a verification code. So I'm going to check that off camera real quick. Okay, so I got that, so I'm going to paste that in. And there we go. So now I'm logged in as the user that I just registered as. You can see my email address, and it just used my first and last initial for the avatar. And then if I go back to users, you'll see that additional user. So the functionality that you get is just incredible for the amount of code that you write. I mean, if you were to implement this all from scratch with your own back end and so on, it would take a long time, and you also get additional security features, and there's just a lot to it. So the final repo is going to be in the description. It's this Clerk app right here. So if you need the code for any reason, you can get it there. And that's it. Let's get started. Okay, so let's jump into our project. And like I said, we're using Next.js, but there's packages for React if you wanted to use like Create React App or Vite. And then there's also a Clerk package for Remix as well. So since we're using Next.js, let's go ahead and run npx. Just go to wherever you want to create this project in your terminal. And then we'll say create-next-app, and I'm going to do @latest, which right now I believe the latest is 13. What is it? Let me just double check. Let's see, 13.4.8. So the name of the project, I'm just going to call Clerk App, and I'm going to basically just choose the defaults. So no TypeScript, no ESLint, yes Tailwind, no source directory, yes app router, and no to the custom import alias. So that'll just go ahead and create a default Next project for us. All right, so once that's done, I'm going to CD into that Clerk app folder and then just open up VS Code in that folder. And if you're using something else, just open your editor up. So first thing we'll do is run the dev server. I'm going to do that from my integrated terminal. So we'll run npm run dev. So that'll open on port 3000. Let's open that up. It'll take a couple seconds, the first load. Okay, so we just get a standard Next.js landing page. So I want to just clear all this up. So if we go into the app folder, you'll see the page.js. That's the home page. In fact, I'm actually going to rename these. So instead of JS, I like to use JSX. So I'm going to change that, and I'm going to change layout as well. And that should still work. Just give it a reload if you want to use those extensions. So in the page.jsx, we can basically get rid of all this. So the image import and then everything that's in the return, I'm going to just clear all that up. And for now, all I'm going to have here is a fragment with an H1, and we'll just say home, since this is the home page. Now, as far as styling goes, if we go in our global CSS, I just want to use Tailwind. So we have all of our Tailwind stuff here. So we can get rid of the rest of this. And then we should just have a white background with the text of home. So now what we want to do is install the package, the Clerk package. So I'm going to open up a new terminal here. And let's run npm install, and it's going to be @clerk/Next.js. Okay, now we're going to have to get your API key, so you need to set up an application within the Clerk interface. So let's go to clerk.com. Just go ahead and sign in. You can sign in with GitHub, Google, or your email. I'm going to use GitHub. And then you want to just create a new application and just call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it Clerk YouTube. And then there's tons of ways that you can have your users authenticate. You have their email address and Google. Those are the two that are selected. But you can use phone number, username, Facebook, Apple, and then 19 more. So we have GitHub, Microsoft, LinkedIn, Dropbox, Discord. So tons of ways that people can authenticate. I'm going to stick to Google email address and GitHub, just like the actual Clerk website. So we're just going to use those three because those three are really easy. Some of these you do have to add some extra configuration. So let's click on Create Application. And then right away, it's going to show us the API keys. So we're just going to copy those, and you want to put them in a file called .env.local. So let's do that. In the root here, we'll create .env.local and then just paste that in. And I don't care if you see mine because I'm going to delete this afterwards anyways. So that's all we have to do there. Just close that up. Now we need to add the Clerk Provider around our application. So let's go to our layout.jsx because this is the highest level within our structure. So basically any route that we go to, all the content comes through this children prop, and it's wrapped in HTML and body tags. So what I want to do is wrap this in the Clerk Provider. So we're going to import up here, let's say Clerk Provider from Clerk/Next.js, and then we're going to add that down here. So Clerk Provider, and we just want all of this to be in the middle of the provider. All right, now I also want to just, I want to add a container and put everything in the middle. So I'm just going to add a couple elements and classes here. So let's see, in the body, make sure you do this in the body here. I'm going to wrap the children. Let's do main, and we're going to do container, and I want it to be in the middle, so mx-auto. And then inside that, we'll have a flex container. So let's give it a class of flex. We'll say items-start, and then justify-center. And then for the height, we'll do min-h screen, so full height. And then I want a div in here because that's going to be the flex item that I want to center. And I'm just going to give that a class name of margin top 20. Okay, and that's where we want the children prop to go. So we're going to just move that into here. And then if we look at our app, we should see home is in the middle. Now, I think one thing I'm going to do here, because I'm going to be using containers in other pages, instead of having to do MX Auto, we can add to the config that we want our container to be centered. Because if I get rid of that MX Auto, you can see now it's not quite in the middle. But I can go to the Tailwind config, and let's see, we're going to want to put this in the theme. So we have the theme object here. I'm going to go, let's see, yeah, after extend, and let's add container, and we're going to say center and set that to true. I mean, you don't have to do this. I just prefer it. All right, so now any container class we use is going to be centered. Good. Now, the first UI element that I want to put on here is the header or the nav bar. So it'll just have the text, and then it'll have a sign in and a sign up link. And then when we're actually signed in, it'll have a link for the settings and for the logout and so on. So let's create in the app folder a folder called components, which is just going to be UI components, not page components. And then a file called header.jsx. I'm going to use my VS Code extension to just map out a component here, and we're going to call it, no, not dashboard. It's going to be called header, so we're just going to leave it like that. Get rid of that. Actually, I'm going to make that a fragment. Okay, and then we're going to have a nav bar here. So let's say nav, and I'm going to give this a bunch of classes. So bg-blue 700 or dash 700 will be the color. And then let's do some padding on the y-axis. So we'll do py4, and let's do px6. So px-6. And I'm going to make this a flex container so we can items center and justify between, because we want basically the logo to be on one side and then the links to be on the other. And then let's also do margin bottom 5. And then in that nav, I'm going to have a div for the logo area, which is going to be a flex box, and I want to items center that. And this will have a link around it, so we need to bring in the Next.js link component. So let's say import link from next/link, and we'll put that link here. That's going to have an href, which is going to go to just slash. And then I'm going to wrap this in a div with the class of text. Oops. Let's say text-lg, make it a little larger. I want it to be uppercase. So yeah, uppercase, and then let's do font bold, make it bold, and also make it white. And then that's just going to say Clerk app. So I'm going to save this and bring it in. I still have to add the links, but let's bring it into the layout just so we can see it. So here we're going to import the header from components header, and where we're going to put that is right in the body tag, right above the main tag. So that'll be the header. Save that, and there we go. So now we have our header. Now let's add the links to it. So we're going to go under this div right here that wraps the logo part, or the branding, I should say. And then let's have a class of text white. And then we're going to have our links. So link href. And this is going to go to, let's say, sign in. And I'm going to give this a couple classes as well. So class name, let's say text-gray 300. And then I'm also going to add a hover state. So we can say hover colon, and let's do text white on hover. And let's also do margin right -4 just to push things over a little bit. Okay, and then that will say sign in, and then what we'll do is just copy this down and change this one to sign up. We want to change the text as well, sign up. Okay, so now we have our links. Now if I go to one of these pages, it's not going to work, obviously. It's a 404 because we haven't created it. So before we do anything else, I want to show you how we can protect pages, right? And we're going to make it so that every new page we create is protected unless we specify it in the public routes. So let's create a page for the dashboard first so that we actually have something to protect. So in the app folder, I'm going to create a folder called dashboard. And then in dashboard, I'm going to create a file called page.jsx. Okay, so if we go to /dashboard, whatever we put in here should be displayed. Now, as far as what I want to put here, let's do RAFCE, and I'm going to call this dashboard page. That'll be the name of the component, and I'm just going to have, let's see, let's get rid of this, and just put fragment and then H1. I'm going to do text-2XL, and let's make font. Make the font bold, and then margin bottom 5. And we'll say dashboard. And then underneath that, I'll have a paragraph with the class of MB5. And just say welcome to the dashboard. Okay, so right now, if I were to, obviously I'm not logged in. If I go to /dashboard, I'm able to see it. Right now I want to protect this, so what we have to do, and I'm actually going to open up, I'm going to go to one of the documentation pages here. So we have to add a file called middleware.js, and then we can use the auth middleware that's part of the Clerk Next.js package. And what we can do, I think it's on this page, what we can do is just define our public routes. Okay, and basically we want to block everything else. Everything else will be private. So we're going to export this config object with a regular expression that basically says everything is going to be private except anything in /API or TRPC. So if you're creating an API, let's create that. In the root, we're going to create a file called middleware.js. And then what I'll do is just grab this, or just hit copy here. And I'm going to paste that in, and all this I want to leave, but we want our public routes. So that actually goes in this middleware as an argument. So we can pass in an object, and then we're going to add here public routes, which is going to be an array. So obviously we want the home page to be public. So let's add /, and let's just do that for now. So I'll save that. Now, if I go back and I try to go to my dashboard page, let's reload that. Now it redirects me to a sign-in page. Now, notice this is not in my application flow. It's at a different URL. So you can do things like this, but what we're going to do is have this in our actual application as a component, as a page. But right now, at least you can see that everything is blocked. Even if I go to a page that doesn't exist, it's going to bring me to a sign-in page. Now, if I go to sign in or sign up, it brings me to these. It's going to bring me to a sign in, and I don't want it to bring me to that. I want to have my own sign in and sign up pages. Now, you could add those to the public routes, but you can also create environment variables in a .env file. So in the root here, not my .env local, but we're going to create a .env, and then we want to add next-public. And obviously, this is not something that needs to be hidden. These are just your URLs. So let's say next public clerk, and it's going to be sign underscore in underscore URL. And we're going to set that to just /sign in. And you could call it whatever, if it was register or sign in without the hyphen, but we're using sign-in. And then what I'll do is copy that down. We're going to have 4 of these. This next one is going to be the sign up URL. So that's going to be sign-up. Okay, and then let's see here, this is going to be the after sign in URL. So right here, we're going to say after underscore sign in. So where do we want to be sent after we sign in? And that's going to be the dashboard. Okay, and then we also want to do the after sign up. So here, let's say sign up, oops, and we're going to put after right here. So after sign up, and that's also going to be the dashboard. Okay, so now if I were to, let me just reload this page and then click sign in, it's still 404 because I don't have, I don't have a sign in page, but it's not blocking it. So now we can close that .env file, and then let's create our sign up page. So I'm going to go into, actually just close this stuff up. So in our app folder, we're going to create a folder called sign in, so sign-in. And the way that this works is it uses the catch-all route. So to create a catch-all route, you actually create a new folder, and in brackets, so we're going to do this with brackets, or 2 sets of brackets, and then triple period, so triple dot, and then the name of the route, which is sign-up. Okay, that way if we go to like sign up / something, then it'll be whatever is in the page in this folder. So now in this folder, we want to have a page.jsx. And let's do RAFCE. By the way, if you don't know what I'm doing here with the RAFCE, it's the ES7 React. Where is it? That's not it. This right here, ES7 React Redux snippets. So you can just generate components. So I'm going to call this sign up page. Okay, so if I go ahead and save that, and now since I did, oh, that's sign in, sorry. Let's change that, and that to sign in. And now if I were to go and click on sign in, I now see my sign in page. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, there's so many ways to go about this, but what I'm going to do first is the easiest way to do this, and that is to just use the sign up component that Clerk gives you. Now you can have your own custom flow, your own custom UI and forms and all that, and I'll show you that in a little bit, but the easiest way, fastest way to get set up is to just use the sign up and sign in components. So what I'm going to do is bring that in up here, let's say import and then sign in from Clerk Next.js, and then we'll just make that a fragment, and then we can just embed the sign in component like that. So I'll go ahead and save that, and then I'm going to do the same for sign up. So I'm just going to copy this, and then in the app folder, let's create a folder called sign-up. And same thing, we're going to use the catch-all route. So we're going to make a folder with 2 brackets and then ... sign-up. And then inside that, we'll have our page.jsx. Paste that in, and I'm just going to change this. All of these ins, I'm going to change to up. So now, if we come over here and we go to sign in, let's reload. There we go. So we have that sign in page with the GitHub, the Google, and the email address methods of signing in. And if I go to sign up, we have the create your account. So now it's in our application flow. It's in our own URL rather than being outside of it. So as far as the branding here, I just want to mention that if you use the free account, then you have the branding. If you do upgrade to a paid account, then you can get rid of that. But like I said, you can also have your own login flow, and I'm going to show you that. Probably be the last thing that I show you. Now, this is set up already. I'm going to go ahead and create an account. Let's start off with Google. So I'm just going to choose one of my accounts. I'll use this tech guy info here. And now you can't really tell because I haven't added anything to the UI, but I am logged in and I'm signed up. So if I go to my dashboard now, go to Clerk, and we get this little effect that says, congratulations, your application now has users. If I go to users, I can see my tech guy info. So this is I signed up with Gmail, and that's the user. Okay, so you have a complete user management system now. And there's not much that we had to do to really set this up. Now, obviously, I want to change some stuff here because it still says sign in and sign up. If I go to either of these links, though, automatically it brings me to my home page because I am signed in. So let's change the header to show something different if we are signed in. So let's go to the header component. And there's a few ways to do this. There's a few different things that we can bring in from Clerk to show if we're logged in or not. So I'm going to go right under the link import, and let's say import, and I'm going to bring in auth. So auth from Clerk Next.js. And let's go right in, let's see. So right in the header component above the return, let's say const, and I can destructure the user ID from the auth function. In fact, let's go ahead and console log the user ID. Remember, we're using Next.js, and by default, these components are on the server, so your console log is going to be down here, not in the browser. And that's the user ID. So you could easily integrate this with your own backend API. If you're, let's say, I don't know, you have a real estate application and someone's listing a property, you can just take this user ID and send it with the rest of your data to the database to store that. Okay, and then you could have permissions where it checks for that ID, and you can just use this in any way that you want. So I'm not going to actually need the ID for anything, except I just want to check for it so that I can hide or show certain things. So down here where I have the sign up link and sign in link, so basically right within here, let's see, I'm actually going to just add on to this flex and the class of items dash center. And then right above this, the link, I'm going to say if not user ID, then, and then I'll open up some parentheses. And in those parentheses, I'll put a fragment, and then I'm going to put both of these links in there. So what I'm saying is that if there's not a user ID, meaning if we're not logged in, then we want to show these links. And now you'll see they disappeared because I am logged and I do have a user ID. And I'm just going to change the home page real quick, just put something different than that. So in the page.jsx that's in our app folder, let's just change, let's see, what do I actually want to put here? We'll just have an H1. Let's give it a class of text-2XL, font bold, and MB-5, and let's say welcome, and then paragraph MB5. So just like our dashboard, really. I'm going to say this is a demo site for the Traversy Media, let's see, Traversy Media, Next.js, and Clerk tutorial. Go ahead and sign in. Obviously, you can put, whatever you want here. I'll say go ahead and sign up or sign in. All right, so I think it looks a little better than just home. And get rid of that dot. Okay. Now, we don't have a way to log out. We don't have anything here, right? So There's another component that we can use called UserButton, which is fantastic. It gives you the little avatar, it gives you a drop down with a logout, and also a link to a settings modal to your profile. So back in the header, let's come up here and let's import, in addition to auth, I'm going to bring in UserButton. And then we're going to put that, let's see, down here. We don't even need to put it in like an else because it won't show if we're not logged in. So I'm just going to go right under this where we ended this and just do a class of ml-auto just to align it. And in that I'm going to say user button. Actually it's a self-closing, so we're going to do user button like that. And then I can also pass in a prop, which is going to be the URL where I want the user to go after they sign out. So we're going to say after sign out URL, I'm going to make that just / just the home page. All right, so now I'll save that. And you can see it gives us the little avatar. Remember, I signed in with Google, so it's going to use my Google avatar. If, let's say you log in with or you sign up with your email and you don't have an avatar, it'll just be, I think, the letters of your name or something like that. But if I click that, we get this really nice looking drop down with a sign out link. So that's how we can sign out. And then manage account, which opens up this really nice looking modal where you can change profile data, you add an email address, connect accounts, delete your account, set your password, and then I'm not going to scroll down anymore because it shows your devices and your IP address as well. All right, so we can close that up. Now we can also embed that into a page if we want. So let's actually do that. Let's create another folder in app called profile. And then in profile, let's create a page.jsx. So I'll say RAFCE, and I'm going to call this profile page. And I'm going to bring in the user profile component, so user profile, and then down here I'll get rid of that, and let's just embed the user profile. Okay, and then if I go to right now /profile, there we go. So I see that same stuff, but it's not in a modal. I have it on a certain page at a certain route. Now I want to link to that, so let's go back to the header. And I only want this link to show if we're logged in. So right below this, right above where we put the user button, let's say if user ID, then we're going to have another link, and that's going to be, let's say, href to profile, and I'll give it a class name, let's say text-gray 300, and on hover, we want to do text-white, and what else, mr-4. Okay, and then we'll say profile, let's save that. So now we have a link to that profile page. So what I'm going to do now is sign out, make sure that works, and now we can just see our sign in and sign up. So let's try signing up with an email address. So I'm going to use, what should I use? I'll do Brad at traversymedia.com. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Password must be 8 or more, so there's some built-in protections here. Let's click continue. This password has been found as part of a breach and cannot be used. So you can see this built-in security systems. So I'll use something else here. Let's do we'll do that. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to get an email with a code. So off screen, I'm going to check my email. So this is really cool that this is built in, and we didn't really have to, write any code that has to do with any of this. We're not sending this. It's just all there for us to use. So let's see. I'm just going to check this real quick. I should have an email. Yep, there it is, Clerk YouTube. And I have a verification, so I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. There we go. I'm logged in. So I guess the avatar is just this if you use email login. Now, before I get into the whole custom sign in, sign up, I just want to show you themes. And I'm just trying to cover as much as I can about Clerk because there's just so much to it. So basically, if let's search for themes. So let's see. Let me see if I search for base theme. Yeah, customization maybe. Yeah, so there's an appearance prop that we can use with the Clerk Provider. And we can install a themes package, and then we can apply that theme. So if you want like a dark theme for these components, these, this here, the sign in, the sign out. Let's just sign out for now so we can see these pages. So what I'm going to do is install. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to install, let's say at clerk/themes. And then we'll go to the layout. And let's see, I'm going to bring in, we'll go right here, and let's import the dark theme. So I'm going to import dark from Clerk Themes, which I just installed, and then I'm just going to add an appearance prop to the provider. So here we can say appearance, and I'm going to set so in here I want this to be an object, so I'm going to use double curly braces, and then we're going to say base theme, and I'm going to change that to dark. So now if I save that and I come back, you can see now the sign in and sign up have a dark theme. And there's others as well. So I just wanted to show you that. I'm not going to keep it like this. I would have to change the rest because obviously this doesn't look very good. But what I'll do is I'll bring in the light theme, which is the default. So I'll just do that just so you can see that you can actually use this appearance prop. All right, now I want to get into custom components because this is great that you can write such little code and have all this functionality, but you might want to really customize your UI and customize your flow. So what I'm going to do is create a separate register page or sign up page, but not use the predefined components. I'm going to show you how to do it all custom. If you want to stop the video now and this is good enough for you, that's fine, but I do want to show you at least how to create a custom register page. And then if you want to do a custom login or sign in, you can do that as well. So let's close up everything that we have here. Okay, and then as far as the page that I want to create, I'm going to call that register since we already use sign up. It's the same thing, sign up, register. So in the app folder, let's create a folder called register. And then in register, I'm going to create my page. So page.jsx and RAFCE. And we'll call this register page. All right. Now if I save that, and I just go to /register. I'm not going to put in a link because it's not really part of the whole flow here. Now, notice it's not letting me go to that page. So what I'm going to do is go to my middleware.js and add it to my public routes. So let's say /register. Make sure you put the slash or it won't work. So now let's go /register, and we should see the text on the register page. Okay, and this is going to still have the whole email verification, type in your code. We're going to implement all that, and it's going to be completely custom. So in the register page, let's bring in, first of all, I want this to be a client-side component because we are going to be using the useState hook and some other hooks, so it has to be a client component for that. So what we do is just add up here in quotes, use client. And then I'm going to import a couple things. I want to bring in useState from React. And then we're going to bring in a hook called useSignup from Clerk. And if you're creating the sign in form, there's a hook called useSign-in. So let's say import useSignup from Clerk. And then I'm also going to bring in the use router hook because I do want to do a redirect. So let's also bring in use router from next router. Actually, it's next navigation now. Now, this is kind of a long file because there's quite a bit of code we're going to write. So I'm going to paste in chunks and explain them. All right, I'm going to close that sidebar up. And the first thing I'm going to do in here is add the component state. All right, so I'm going to paste that in. So this use signup hook that we brought in, we can destructure that and get three things from it. Is loaded, which is going to tell us if the signup object is ready or not. And then the signup object itself has a bunch of methods on it to send the verification link through email and validate it and so on. And then set active is what we're going to call lastly once everything is done, once we register and verify the code that's sent in the email. And then email, first name, last name, and password are all form fields. However, if you do want to use first name and last name, we actually have to enable that in Clerk. So if we go to user and authentication and we go to email, phone, username down here, so you can really customize this how you want. If you want to use a username, you can. Right here, I'm going to check this. The users can set their first and last name. If you don't check this and you add the first and last name, it's going to not know what you mean. So make sure that you add that if you want to use the name during registration. So next we have pending verification, which is a Boolean. And basically, once we submit the form and the email is sent with the verification code, this gets set to true. And then in the UI, instead of showing the regular form, it'll show an input for the verification code. Okay, and then the code will go in this piece of state. Then we just are initializing the router. So that's the main component state. Now we're going to have two functions in here, and I'm just going to paste the function in without a body for now. So we have handle submit, obviously the form submit, and then when we verify the user, the code that gets sent to the email, this will fire off. And then in the return, we're going to have a few things. So what I'm going to do is just add some classes on here. So we'll have border, we'll have padding 5, and let's do rounded. And then I'm also going to give this a width. So we'll do style, and we'll set that to width, and then let's say 500 pixels. Okay, so if we go now to our register page, we should see the border here. And then we'll have an H1 with, let's do text 2XL, and also, what else did I want to do here? Margin bottom 4, and then register. Okay, and then underneath that, I'm going to check to see if we're not pending verification, which is the default of the, it's false by default right here. So if it's not, then I just want to show the regular form with the name and email and all that. So that form I'm going to just copy and paste in because it's kind of a lot to write, to type out. And I'll just go over it real quick. So we have just a couple fields. We have the form with the handle submit. We have the first name here, so it has a label and an input. On change obviously is going to change that state. Then we have last name, then we have email address, and then we have password, and then a button. So pretty simple. So it's going to look like this, which doesn't look as good as the predefined component, but you could make this form look however you want. Now, under here, we want to say if it is pending verification, meaning the email was sent and now we're waiting for you to type in the code. So then we have a different form for that. So let's go ahead and paste that in. So just have a div with a form, and the input is, this is the code. So value is going to be the code in our state, and our on change is going to call set code. And then the button, when clicked, will call on press verify. All right, now we just need to add the body to those two functions. Now the handle submit is actually going to be pretty simple. So let's first of all e.prevent default, and then we're going to check to see if it's not loaded. So if not is loaded, then we want to return, because that means that the sign up object is not loaded, is not ready. If it is, then let's do a try catch, and here we'll just do a console log of error, and then in the try we're going to call signup.create, which is asynchronous, so we want to say await signup.create, and we want to pass in here an object that has first underscore name, and these have to be formatted, these keys, like this. That's going to be equal to the first name in our state. The last underscore name is going to be the last name in our state. The email underscore address will be the email in our state and our form, and then password. Our state variable is the same, so we can just put in password. Now that will create, we then need to send the email with the verification. So again, we're going to use await, and then sign up has a method called prepare email address verification. And that's going to take in an options object, and we want to add a strategy, because you can either do email link or email code, and we're going to do email code. All right, then we just want to change the UI to pending verification true. So let's say set pending verification and set that to true. Okay, so, and I can just show you real quick, if I were to set that to true manually like that, then it's just going to show this. Right, but we want that to be false to begin with. So the last thing we want to do is the on-press verify. That's after we enter the code. So for that, I'm actually going to paste that in. All right, so we're going to prevent the default. We're going to check if it's not loaded, try catch, and we're going to have this complete sign up, which we're going to set to the return value of this attempt email address verification, where we pass in the code, an object with the code. If that is not complete, then we're just going to investigate the response, see the error. If it is complete, if the status is complete, we're going to then call set active, and we create a session. Okay, so we use this created session ID, and then we're just redirecting to the home page. All right, so this code here is going to pretty much do the same exact thing as when we use this sign up. And you can see now this actually has the first and last name. It didn't before, but I enabled it within the dashboard of Clerk. So let's try our register form, the custom one here. So I'm going to say John for the first name, Doe, and I'm going to use, I'll just use, actually, yeah, I'll use traversymedia@gmail.com, and then password. And let's create an account. Okay, so now we have this enter verification code. So what I'm going to do is check my email for a code. Okay, so 0014714. Verify email. And there we go. So now we're logged in. And it does show the initials JD. So John Doe. So this is incredibly powerful. I mean, if you think of creating a custom authentication using JSON Web Tokens, it's a ton of work just to get the authentication between the front end and the back end. Never mind the user management like we have here. I mean, you can go in now and you can manage your users, and there's just a ton of different options. You have your session options here. You have JWT templates, different integrations. That's another thing that I forgot to mention is you can integrate with Firebase, with Supabase, Google Analytics. There's just so much that you can do. So, but that's kind of the basics of it. I just wanted to show you guys how easy it is to just get up and running and add authentication to your projects, whether it's Next.js, whether it's a single page application, or whether you're using something like Remix. All right, so that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.